Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Unfiltered on Wonderful Machine's Instagram Live. We have a really special guest this week. It is Portland-based Pedro Oliveira. He's got tons to talk about in terms of not only the work that he's been doing during quarantine, but also how he's been pitching it to different publications and just really keeping busy during what's been a really unpredictable time in an already really unpredictable time. And we're just getting Pedro on board here. And then we'll jump right in. Pedro, how you doing?
Hey, morning. Doing all right, waking up.
Good, good. Did you get that coffee like we talked about?
Hey, it's right here.
Oh, good, good, good. Okay, that'll be that you're all set. Okay, excellent.
Yeah. As it goes down, my mood it will improve, and my eloquence too. So,
okay.
Hello everyone.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Once again, Portland-based Pedro Oliveira. Pedro, can you pronounce your last name just so I make sure that I never mess it up again?
No, actually, you're doing pretty well. Pretty right. It's Oliveira.
Okay, great, great.
Yeah, just got the Latino accent, but basically you're saying it right.
Some days I feel a little more confident with it than others, but I do know that I will never forget to spell your name the right way. The E before I, like, definitely had some trouble. I'm sure tons of people have spelled that last name wrong.
I got over it. You know, it was really hard for me to get names when I got here too. So
right.
I'm pretty sure people got upset a few times. I remember once pronouncing Brooks. I pronounced broke, and she was really upset. She was like, "No, that's not broke. That's wrong." So, so yeah, live and learning.
I guess it goes both ways then. You know, my last name is Raghupathy, so I'm totally on board with the whole people will, need to ask how to pronounce your name. So you just got to repeat.
Yeah, how do I pronounce yours? I don't really know. I never.
Raghupathy?
Yeah. Right, yeah. and the name is Varun, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm not that far. Yeah.
No, definitely. So yeah, Pedro, just wanted to kind of catch up and get to know what you've been up to the last couple of months. We've had the chance to profile some of your work, and I wanted to start by noting something that I found really interesting. Most of your really good friends are a lot older than you, and so
yeah.
Stage for not only a lot of compelling personal work, but at the same time, it's also, got to have been a concerning time for you these last couple of months.
Yeah. Well, let me begin with what I said via email to you. You actually, I know, not even sure if you're aware, took me from a very dark place, because I was, this entire thing. I'm a traveling photographer for the most part. Home is just a place that I have a zip code. But before the coronavirus, I was in Saudi Arabia, I was in Turkey, and then I was in Kauai. And all of a sudden, I got myself 3 months in this 800 square feet apartment here. And my creative juice just switched off. I wasn't doing anything. I do not want to produce anything. And then you kept like, hey, you should do this. You have older friends. How are they doing? Why don't you cover that? And that project actually just led me to get back to work and start doing projects. And so thank you for pushing that. I told you that before, but it's nice to put it out there that you actually took me from the sunken place.
I really appreciate you saying that. I honestly had no idea that was even, possible, because I just promoted right about the photographers. You're the really creative ones, and I'm really glad to hear that I played a small part. And so when you did get back into doing those photo essays, the first of which was Beyond the 60th Sense, the second of which was 9 Under the 19. We'll start with 9 Under the 19, which is 9 older couples and how they're kind of dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. So as you started to do that project, how were you feeling? Just kind of like, not only taking pictures, but catching up and staying safe.
Yeah, so like you said, 919, it was almost organic because my partner it's much older, and most of my friends I don't understand. I don't know how that works. I just don't dwell on that. But most of my friends are at least twice as old as I am, and it is still the most affected population. In the risky group and everything. And then we start talking about it. I would call in all the time anyway, just like how you guys doing. And then I decided that it would be nice actually to report on that. Initially, the idea was just to do something to get out of the apartment, to actually get the juice flowing. And I researched a little bit, and I guess there are only two couples that were not actually close friends. So for me, it was basically visiting and checking on friends. And once I did, I realized that of course I do advertising for the most part. I do some editorials as well, but advertising, you cannot produce advertising without 10, 15, 20 people on set. And I realized this kind of project I could actually do safely. So what I was basically doing is just putting a light in a place, stepping away, getting a long range lens, and then I would literally call them and say, "Oh, you can come out now." They would go under the light. I would take a few shots. They would get back in. We would never even get closer. And I did with 9 couples, and then I produced the final project, and I just put it out there. And I guess like 1 or 2 weeks in, I pitched to Vanity Fair, and they didn't reply. and then I pitched to Vanity Fair Italy. Mm-hmm. And they were super interested, and they licensed the content, and they published, which was actually turned out to be a big deal. It's one of the biggest names in my roster of clients now, and it started as whoever's watching, sometimes people get lazy or discouraged, and they don't think their work is good enough, or they don't think personal work it's an important tool. When truth is it works for both advertising and editorial. Your personal work is the single most important part of your work, because it's when you do advertising, when you do editorial, you have a set of rules, and you have a specific boundaries that you gotta keep within. Whereas your personal work is literally from your heart, is whatever you think. So our producers in general and photo editors are so interested in seeing what's your vision, what are you up to, what do you want to do, how do you manage color, how do you interpret a story. And I've been very fortunate to every single project that I put out there, personal project, actually turned out to be a profitable project, because I put out there just to share, just to be, keep relevant, to keep my name in the loop. Mm-hmm. And turns out that people, you never know. You assume that nobody's, it's very common for I will use the word artist very loosely, but it's very common for artists doubt that people are actually watching whatever they're doing, when truth is, it can be farthest from the truth. Before Vanity Fair, we'll get there, I'm jumping ahead, but Beyond the 60 Cents was licensed by Der Spiegel in Germany, mm-hmm. Which was a big deal for me, because from there, several other smaller magazines actually licensed my work too. And eventually, this organization called Body Worlds, that has museum exhibitions all over the world, bought the license for 2 exhibitions, one here in Portland, which was so cool. All my friends got to see that I'm not lying, that I actually do something for a living. and in Austin, Texas. And all of that started with a personal project. So if you are listening to this, get your ass off and go work.
And I wanted to ask kind of about just, the process of pitching these personal projects and these projects in general, because like you said, you can reach out to people and they might not respond. That can be discouraging. So what do you find to be the key with regards to getting your work out there and eventually turning a profit?
Well, for the pitch, I'm open about it. There's no secret about it. First of all, I know it's hard. I know it's annoying and boring, but at least to me, email blasts are, I don't like them. because well, if it varies from person to person. Remember that creative directors and photo editors are also people like you and I. So some people don't mind, some people hate it. But I personally work person to person. I like to write an email to you, and I find that people appreciate that. So don't write a sketch email and send the same email to 100 people. You want to talk to somebody, you want to start a conversation, research who you're writing for, what they have done in the past, and talk to them from person to person. Don't send those, a copy and paste sort of email. And don't write a biography. Nobody has time to read, this a Bible. Uh, Normally, what I do is just like, hey, my name is Pedro. This is what I do. And if you have some time, just take a look. I'm pretty sure you're gonna like. Your audience is gonna like, and let it be. And let it be. I take about 1-2 weeks to even follow up. And generally, excuse me, the follow up is just, I sent this email. Were you able to take a look? And if I don't hear from the person, I just let it be, because either the person's not interested or the person is busy. And I promise you, if I am busy with a project in a deadline and you email me 5 times, I'm not gonna see that as a good thing. So you got to be mindful of that. Art directors and creative directors and photo editors have a deadline, and in their resume, they're not applying to be your pitch contact or your personal assistant. So they have deadlines they have to follow, what they're paid to do.
Right.
And pitching news stories, it is part of what they do, but just a small part. So you got to be mindful of that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, they have so much just going on, so many different emails to look through. So
Oh
many
yeah.
projects are also being pitched. So.
Yeah, I worked with the Orange Coast magazine creative director. I shot for them last year, and in the middle of conversation, I just spoke to her. I said, I've been emailing you for 2 years, and she said, yeah, I know. But the same batch of emails that your emails would come, another 150 would come in the same day.
Oh.
And she wasn't even exaggerating.
Oh,
She
wow.
showed me, here's from this morning. And so I was talking to Puck, the photo editor for Wired yesterday, and we are talking about, like, Puck's a very, very brilliant man, by the way. If you guys don't know Puck, you should know him. He's a young photo editor for Wired, but he's so smart. And I say, well, it's very human to be self-centered in a benevolent way, because you're thinking what is the benefit for yourself, but then you forget the other side of it, that how people are gonna feel about how you approach. So long short, whenever you approach someone, approach them as a person, not as an object that's gonna take you to the next level. Because
Right.
yeah, kindness.
And you made an interesting point regarding the 9 under the night, or excuse me, I think it was Beyond the 60th Sense, where
Uh-huh.
you got picked up by a big international publication like Der Spiegel, but you
Mm-hmm.
also picked up by Oregon Live, which was closer to you. Part of
Yes. Yeah.
I really appreciate how you kind of frankly, appreciated that, because like a lot of people might think, oh, I only want to go for the heavy hitters. I don't want to look local. But you clearly understand the value in getting your work out to as many publications as possible. And you felt really good about the Oregon Live publishing, which must have been an awesome feeling.
Well, so I'm pretty frank with what I do. I realize that photography has to do with talent, but for most part, what we do is important, but we are not that much of important. And I translate that to what I do. I really like, I appreciate how people like my work, and how the prizes I win, the exposure that I get. But I'm kind of sort of still countryside kid. I grew up in a 9,000 people city, countryside Brazil. So my values are not again, I really like. I think it's pretty cool to be on Der Spiegel, to be in big magazines like this. But what gave me joy, and I was telling, is just showing my family and friends who are constantly annoyed by me telling them where I was published and where I was going. Show, hey, you see, this is what I do.
Proof.
And yeah, and in the town, the Oregonian is as high as you can go. So it was actually a very, very interesting feeling too. I was more excited about the Oregonian than I was excited about all these big names, National Geographic and Der Spiegel. Even more so, this museum we call OMSI, which is Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. Uh, show. I rarely get excited to the point that I'm emotional about my work, but having my entire entourage going to the museum and seeing my work made me tear up for the first time about anything I did.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's just like, it's family, friends, and
Right.
so it might be personal, it might be striking for the New York Times, and if that's your thing, good on you for being so ambitious about it. That's how you gotta go, But in my case, I really enjoy the opportunity of, having my name put out there in the town.
And it sounds like that is inextricably linked to your upbringing. You grew up in a town of 9,000 people. Like Portland is
Hmm.
obviously much bigger than that, but at the same time,
Yeah,
it's not like, it's not like you're a total stranger there. And it's not like with the Der Spiegel thing, like you can't go to, especially now, you can't just go to Germany and like exhibit.
yeah,
Like you're
yeah,
home amongst basically your family members, like that's a very powerful feeling, I'd imagine.
yeah. One of the coolest experiences I had. I did a work for Portland State University,
Hmm?
the university that I attended. And again, when you started, it's not gonna lie, it's money. You know,
Right.
they're paying me cool money. But what I didn't realize is these publications, the issue would go to Portland State alumni,
Hmm.
and Portland is kind of a small town. It's big in size, but everybody knows everybody somehow.
Hmm?
And what I didn't realize that what Portland State University was doing, and showing my work to friends. So again, I had no idea who had attended Portland State, who hadn't, and they sent you all the alumni body, and I start getting calls from friends. Oh, I just saw your work. I just saw your work. Friends that otherwise would never even know, people that I know, not necessarily friends,
Right.
that I did. So it was a
Pedro, can you hear me? Pedro? All right, looks like Pedro's feed got a little frozen there. So let's see if we can. Pedro, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, Pedro just left, and I think he's going to rejoin. So a little bit of a connection issue. But you heard what Pedro was talking about there. Just that kind of communal aspect of sharing your work and getting the chance to share with the people you're close with. And Pedro's going to come back on and kind of explain more of that. And we'll just get kind of like the cool aspect of this. Pedro, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yep, I can hear you. Definitely want you to keep talking about like when
Uh-huh.
with that Portland State work. Did you get a chance to like catch up with old friends, old classmates? Like, did you get to reconnect with them as a result of your work, kind of being in front of them?
Yes, yes, yeah. That was a cool part. People that I wouldn't talk for a while, or people that I did not even know attended Portland State. Say, oh, I saw your work because I did attend Portland. So it was definitely an icebreaker for a long, long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Wow,
that was actually pretty cool.
that's really cool. So Portland State is your alma mater. You were born in Brazil. Can you talk a little bit about your journey from South America to North America and how you ended up in the Pacific Northwest?
Sure. Was totally accidental. I honestly, I never thought about living in the United States. So I'm from a very small town. It's called Pedro of Toledo. So I always thought my grandpa's called Pedro too. So I always thought it was his town. He owned the town because,
Of
well,
course.
his name, therefore, obviously. And it's deep countryside, man. I'm very, very fond of, have very fond memories of us like milking a cow and drinking the milk straight from, which now sounds disgusting, but at the time it was so great.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm from deep countryside. I like to joke that where I used to live, the redneck town would consider me a redneck because it's like super, super into the woods. And then at the age of 15, I just moved to São Paulo City, which is totally different. It's a big, big city. And I got my first undergrad in computer sciences.
Mm-hmm.
Soon enough, I realized that wasn't for me. I was just okay doing it, but somehow IBM liked something in my resume, so they hired me. So I was working as a computer scientist for IBM for 2-3 years until I got tired of everything. Y generation, the old millennials, and I got tired of the city. I was busy like New York, just super crazy all the time, traffic, and I knew I did not like computer sciences. And then my relationship was going bananas too, and I was just like, I have nothing else left in the city. So I was going to the UK. But ironically enough, my friends talked me out of that because it was too rainy.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I moved to Portland, Oregon, where it rains 9 months of the year, and say, oh, you're not gonna get used to it. So I moved to Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
The thought process was literally, I cannot afford New York. I'm not sure if I would fit in California. And Atlanta, Georgia has Coca-Cola, CNN, and the Olympics. That was the thought process of a 19-year-old kid.
Right.
And eventually I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I met my partner there, eventually got married, and his son was living here in Portland, Oregon. That's a short version, obviously.
Mm.
And we came on summer, which is like it is right now. And Oregon or West Coast in the summer is just the most beautiful thing you will see. Of course, nobody tells you that's just a sample. Yeah, that's what hooks people. And we decided, that we're gonna make the move. And I've been living here for 8-9 years now.
Wow.
So yeah, most of my adult life, it's within 5 blocks from where I am. I'm in the same apartment ever since I moved here.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's when I called you to set up this call, I saw that the area code was Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought he was Portland based.
Yeah, that's a story. I did not change the number.
No, it's better that way. Too much of a hassle otherwise,
Yeah. So that's how you got this.
Very cool. So Pedro, just kind of wondering now, like you've had good success with these projects you've been pitching the last couple of months. How's everything going with you, just in terms of like your career as 2020 starts to wind? What do you see months?
Not gonna lie, it's been super awkward. For the first 3 months, I literally had to apply for unemployment because everything shut down. I wasn't getting headshot portraits, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that contributed obviously to the down mode. And if you're watching this, I feel like we don't talk enough about mental health. And so I'm gonna do a plug here. If you're feeling depressed or down that the profession is kind of crazy, believe me, that is a collective feeling, and people don't know what's gonna be next. The industry is changing. Some things are really good. Like this is more common than ever. I had so many online meetings that I would have to fly to the place otherwise. But as far as advertising and editorial goes, there's a lot of turmoil going on politically and economically. Portland has protesters and all this thing going on. So um, the first 3 months was very, very scary.
Mhm.
Phone not ringing at all. And after that project with Vanity Fair, I don't really know what changed, but phones started ringing again.
Mm.
And it's still pretty slow compared to the last year, the same period. But I have done 3 projects ever since.
Got
One advertising, which advertising generally holds the barrier for a while, because advertising pays more than editorials. And I had 3 editorials. But again, I wish I had a formula. I wish I could tell you, yeah, it's gonna be super great and on, but no, nobody knows.
right.
What I can tell by talking to creative directors, to photo editors, is they're trying to figure it out too, a way, and we will. We are slowly moving towards, um, a system that we can work more safely.
Mhm.
You got to adapt. Like right now, I'm still not comfortable with shooting studio because it's such a small space and, touching metals and stuff.
Mhm.
But, I'm just being frank with editors that approach me and say, if we can do this outdoor with fewer people, that'll be the best way. And they're being pretty flexible.
Yeah.
At least one project that was meant to be a studio project, they agreed to move outdoor. Of course, I have an advantage that we're living in Oregon, which everything is so dramatic.
Yeah.
So it's not like do have that volcano that we can shoot from, or we can shoot on a blank canvas. Like that's not a hard sell.
Right.
But yeah, things are moving slowly, but you just got to be patient.
Yeah. And it does sound like, ever since you were kind of feeling down, like getting to do that work that you did, like the personal stuff kind of led you to be creative, and like that's kind of helped you perhaps with advertising and editorial. So like it kind of all feeds into itself, right? Like you get to actually.
Yes. Yeah, yes. I feel like that was the head starter for doing work again. And if you are with Wonderful Machine, likely you know what advertising is. The odds are that you're marketing yourself out there, and it's not fun at all. It's a chore and it's painful, and email people that is not going to mail back and try to pitch, and you feel down. So and then you're not getting jobs all at the same time. So I can definitely see why people get down. But I feel like once you get it, because you rarely go to become a photographer, rarely become a creative because your parents told you to.
Right.
It's in you. And what I feel like you gotta find why you started this in the first place. You will rarely find a photographer or any type of creative that started because they want to make money. It's good when you do,
Right.
but you started because you love what you do, and then you try to reconcile, to merge and a profession with love. So I feel these are times that we have to get back and remember, why do I do this? And everything comes naturally when you're passionate about what you're doing, when you just go out there to tell stories. And if you don't feel it, fake until you make it. Just grab your camera, even if you don't feel like it. Go out there, and soon enough, I promise you, no time you're gonna remember why you started doing photography in the first place. Because you're rarely gonna find a photographer that says, "Oh yeah, I started photography for money." Because
Right.
most of the time, there's not. You
Right.
start because you love it.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Pedro, that's fantastic advice. All of this has been really fantastic advice. Thank you so much again for taking the time to be with us. If there's anything else you want to add just at the end here before we let you go right ahead. But it was a pleasure talking to you, and I know that you and I
Well,
will.
yeah, it was nice to meet you in person, virtually, but in person, to put a face on the letters, not even the voice. We were joking about it.
That's
Well, not really. I guess I give the pep talk already, not intentionally. I just would like to say hi to everybody who joined. There's a Smirnov saying, "Keep up the great work." Thank you so much.
that's
Um,
Philly based good people. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's I would just repeat what I said. Just find yourself again. Just realize that it's a profession and you do it for money and you do it to pay your bills. But mainly you do it because one, you're good at it. You wouldn't be with Wonderful Machine if you're not very, very darn good at what you do.
Man.
And I was rejected by you guys 3 times before you accepted me to your roster. So I know that. You got to be good. and but mainly that you do it for love. And just be safe out there. And keep grinding, man. Keep grinding. People are watching. I promise you. Photo editors, creative directors. It's their priority to find good people to work with. So yeah, doesn't seem like that sometimes, but people are watching your work. So just keep doing what you love and drink some more coffee.
Well, Pedro, if they find you, they've definitely found good people. So I will let you go now, and good luck with
Mhm.
everything moving forward. I know you and I will continue to be in contact, and I look forward to continuing to promote your great work. And thank
Mhm.
you again for the time.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. And again, I'm really glad that we finally got you talk face to face.
Fantastic. Yep.
All right.
All right, everybody. We'll
Yeah.
be back in a couple of weeks. Pedro Oliveira, Portland-based, incredibly talented and kind. And thank you again, Pedro. This will be up on YouTube in a couple days.
Thank you. Absolutely. Bye, guys. Have a great day now.
Bye, everybody.